5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Now go home and get your fucking shine box.
So welcome to Go Get Your Shine Box, a gritty, real-world view podcast that tells it like it is. What do you say, fellas?
Hello from central New Germany.
And hello from God's country. We're out near Pennsylvania. My name is Paul, and I am the local retard savant.
Okay. I did not expect that. I thought I was going to shock him by saying this is a live recording coming from Central Florida right in the middle of Hurricane Ian. You know?
That's right. You're right in the middle of the hurricane.
We are. But
How was that hurricane treating you?
Not too bad right now. No, my brother's out in on the west coast of Florida having a little bit of a time. It's moving east, hopefully northeast.
Well,
we'll go out to sea.
It doesn't hurt that you work at Umbrella Corps and you're like 6 stories below ground right now either, you know.
Which is a feat in Florida, let me tell you, because the water table is rather high. So as usual, we like to mix it up a little bit, and besides ferrying the weather, fighting the odds, did a little loose research, take you back a little bit, and we're going to look into some hate crime hoaxes. And to start out, there's hundreds of hate crime hoaxes reported every year. Of course, they're not reported as hoaxes. Mostly far left progressives accusing conservatives, and that happens to be a statistic. And just to bore those stat people, I actually let me see if I can bring up Exhibit A. And I'm not going to read these, but there's a list out there on Grabian.com, lists.grabian.com. There's like about 178. These are all hoaxes out there, and I'll just read a couple real quick. Hate crime hoax. Sheriff says incident engineered by victim. There's if you go through them, they'll tell you the summary. The dates are back to 2000, 2004. A Texas man, Muslim, set his own meat market on fire and spray painted "Go Home." Let's see. California high school student faked a series of gay bashing incidents. These are all, by the way, what we call progressives, the left. Sometimes a hate crime isn't exactly a hate crime at all. Jewish student behind some dorm, he put up his own swastikas. That's pretty clever, yeah. So and it goes on and on from 2000 all the way up. Asian American woman student defaced a memorial arc with anti-Asian graffiti. That's interesting. You got to love that. So these people obviously vie for negative attention.
Yeah, they've been inculcated with this they feel virtuous for being a victim. You know what I mean? They feel that gives them some kind of social status. What's he lighting me up for? Freaking cop just drove by.
Ignore him.
Light bar on me.
So I want to know, like, what are the repercussions? What has happened to these people?
Oh, nothing. They don't suffer any consequences.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It just depends. But we're going to start with the grandfather of hate crime hoaxes in our recent times. At least this is my opinion. You tell me what you guys think. Brawley. Witnesses say Brawley got into a plastic bag by herself and then hopping around in it before curling up into a ball on the ground. There's a couple of key points, but if you remember Tiwana Brawley, that was the Reverend Al Sharpton's baby, and she accused six people, including a prosecutor and a police officer, I believe, of rape and all kinds of heinous stuff. And as it turns out, the hospital rape tests were negative. There was no semen found anywhere on her body. She had no recent bruises or other marks on her body consistent with rape, according to the kid at the time. Hospital techs who evaluated Brawley concluded that she was faking the whole thing. Brawley was well nourished, had clean breath. And basically, she was a proven liar.
Yeah, I remember that, and this was a big deal. All right, this guy's running a search pattern repeatedly, so we got.
Are you cocked and locked?
It is against the law to carry weapons in New Jersey.
That's right. Just checking.
Yes, folks, this is live. I've been derailed from my train of thought. That's okay. I actually...
Tiwana Brawley was the OG ramping up all this crap.
Now, if I remember correctly, it went on for a long time. Didn't the Unreverend Al keep this going for a while and push the crap out of it?
Yeah, over a year.
And what were the repercussions on that one once it was debunked?
Well, he lost weight. Apparently, that was the only repercussion.
Yeah, no, I think he's got AIDS or something. I don't think.
Yeah, there's something seriously wrong with him.
Yeah.
But I dug deep into the annals of the internet to find an Al Sharpton montage regarding this. And to your point, Joe, this guy stuck to it. This guy, he could stick to a lie better than anybody.
Yeah, I don't think to this day he's reached it, has he?
He did. He had. There's a backhanded apology, and I was going to pick it up, and I'm like, well, you know what? We can do a little research, or somebody else can research that. He was one of those. Yeah, well, what are you going to do? Things kind of like with that cocaine sting, you know.
Yeah.
Back in the day, hey, they only busted me because it was a sting. Oh, yeah, that's what every other drug dealer in jail said. But anyway, here, listen to this montage. It's only half a minute.
We're going to expose the facts in these crimes that you do against black people. New York State is now the capital of racial violence. We are not going to let this girl be the scapegoat of a corrupt system. We want to show the world how low down, dogged, and callous the state of New York is. The media now has released that Tiwana identified Chris. We have the facts and the evidence that an assistant district attorney and a state trooper did this. We closed the bridge, the court, and this building, and Main Street.
So that was an interesting. I know it was a little bit difficult to understand because of the age, and the quality of the clip. But the interesting part was New York City is 10 times worse than it was when this happened, and I don't hear a word from this idiot. So,
well, if I heard correctly, he was condemning New York, right?
Yeah.
Well,
It was.
Well, that's like the only thing that came out of his mouth that I agree with, because I condemn New York to this day. So
Systemic, I'm sure, back then. But of course, it probably wasn't under. Was that probably under Giuliani? Hence the fake crime.
I had my mute button on. You did not hear my flowery prose.
Oh, don't do that. Number two on the list.
What year was this? Do you remember?
Yeah. What the heck year was it? Now you stumped me, and I had it.
I could guess, but I don't want to. I'll sound ignorant.
No, I don't know.
Wasn't this like in the 95-ish?
I think it was before. Well, I don't know.
It was back there. It was back there. But anyway, that's hardly the point. It's moving up, and I apologize for not having the date on that one. But going up to 2006, this is the Duke lacrosse team.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Yeah, those guys were all ruined.
Yeah, and again, this isn't a follow up or an essay on where they are now. But three white members of the Duke University lacrosse team were falsely accused by Crystal Mangum, a black student at North Carolina Central University, no less, having raped her. The charges were all fabricated, but the American media and Duke University faculty rushed to judgment and devoted months to smearing the three lacrosse players and Duke University itself as racist, which was interesting. Again, the whole it always has to be racist, and the whole thing was fake. But the problem is once you spill the milk, you can't put it back in the bottle, even if it's even if it was bad milk.
By the way, the Brawley was 87.
Was it 87?
Yeah,
I thought it was in the 80s. It had to be before Giuliani.
And you know what? You take a look at her, and Nobody's gonna rape her.
And here's the thing. This is none of this is by accident. This is all cultural Marxism with race substituted for class, and they did it on purpose to spread white guilt and prop up black people and basically destroy society. Now we got black people. Okay, I got a black bus driver. Maybe I'll be all right with that. I get on a plane and it's a black guy or a woman flying. I'm getting off. You most likely got there through some kind of affirmative action. I'm not taking chances. Thank you very much.
Well, and this whole thing is a premise and stage for the anti-whiteism movement that we see now.
Right. Yeah.
And because the only way to divide a country this big is internally. Obviously, we see that people that ordinarily wouldn't even talk to each other are more than happy to engage in a battle, especially online, which is interesting.
And this got amped up after Obama came in. He was, the divider in chief, until Biden came in and took the title,
Well, talking about Obama, one thing I can't stand, I hear a lot of this from like Kilmeade and those types of lukewarm right-wing pundits talking about how slick talking, the auditor knowledge and talent of Bill Clinton and Obama. And there was a comparison done, and I think the guy got trashed for it too. A right winger that was talking about, well, if you're going to go make that comparison, Hitler was a great speech giver too.
Yeah. I
mean, how absurd is it to say this guy split the country in half, but you're going to compliment him on how smooth he split it? That's why I don't buy into those people.
Have I given you my opinion of guys like these on Fox? Kilmeade.
I don't know if we have an official opinion.
Gutfeld.
Is it something that we can share with the Rated G audience?
Yeah, probably not.
Okay. Well, we'll take that offline, and maybe we could make some tweets.
Here's the thing: they are more of an enemy than CNN. At least CNN, you know where they stand.
Well, yeah,
These weak-kneed and jelly-spined gatekeepers on Fox do more damage.
They do hold the trust of a lot of people.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody reminded me today they posted the Shep. What was his name?
Shepard Smith.
Yeah, Shepard Smith, a piece when he was doing the hurricane meteorology portion for the one that was supposed to hit Daytona, and he came on and he said, "If you don't evacuate, you're just stupid and you're gonna die." And he got fired a short time after that, but. That particular storm made a right, went up the Atlantic coast 100 miles from its so-called target. But that's the kind of person that has the trust of millions, because there's these celebrity news people. That's the way it is nowadays. And he couldn't have been more wrong and irresponsible. And you know what? These rich bubble people, I don't care what side they're on. They sit in their bubbles. They have no concept of what it's like telling somebody who lives in a double wide trailer to pack their crap and evacuate.
Yeah.
Not to jump all over the place, but where the frig are they going?
They all go to the same parties. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There might be a couple that are uninvited if they completely go against their team or the narrative. But most of them will be fine at any, Democrat soiree. No problem.
Yep. Which brings us to 2019. We're getting closer to today's day and age.
Right.
And if anybody care to take a guess?
2019 hate crime by Smollett.
I was going to play a little sound by Juicy Smollett. 2019, one of the most notorious hoaxes. Actor Smollett claimed he was attacked by white racists in Chicago on a freezing night. I think he was going for a freaking Subway sandwich. That's a hoax in itself.
That whole thing was so stinking bizarre that it's the first time you heard it, your immediate response was, "He's full of shit."
Yeah, this is MAGA country.
yeah. This was Chicago. Yeah. next to a subway. The noose was a rope that his two immigrant co-conspirators purchased to stage the attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did it turn out? Did he pay them like $5,000 each or something like that? I don't remember the number.
He wrote
he
them a check.
wore the noose like a necktie.
Yeah, he wrote him a check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
IQ matters, people.
Jussie isn't the smartest crayon in the 8-pack.
You think he's up to 85? What do you think?
I don't know what you mean.
Probably.
You don't know what I mean, Paul? Explain to him what I mean.
No. Where's that? Yeah, but Joe, if you haven't noticed, all the stuff is fitting together. It's all part of my plan tonight because you were talking about it's so ridiculous. How could you believe this? Exactly. These things have geared up and notched up over the years. This was picked up by the AP and run all over the country, if not the world, within hours. And people were presenting it as a fact, and they wanted an execution. And lo and behold, MAGA bad, all over again, which is interesting because that's what our last week's episode was about, which, by the way, dropped last night. So, yeah, old Jussie, and he continues to go in and out of court denying it. I think he had to end up paying back the police department.
Did he get any time or anything? What happened to him?
It was suspended.
I know that Brawley, getting back to her, she had to pay. She lost like a $500,000 lawsuit, and they've been garnishing her pay. She's a nurse, so she makes money.
Okay.
So she's already paid about $190,000, but she owes like $430,000. So she is paying.
I would actually like to ask her what her motive is. I mean, I know it's easy to say the sociological motive, but what was her motive?
First of all, yeah, and she's still not like fessing up to it. The guy that she owes the money to, I don't know like all whole details, but I know that he said that he would forgive the balance of what she owes if she would just admit to the truth, and she won't. So screw her. Pay the money, bitch.
Yeah. Show me the money. But that's a different kind of stupid too.
Yeah.
And it's gotten worse and worse and worse because Smollett, he still walks around with his posse, in and out of the courtrooms. I think the judge had to tell him to take his stupid sunglasses off that one time. But I don't understand where he was going with that.
Well, here's the thing: you give somebody like that money, right? And all of a sudden, there's somebody, and they've got a posse because they've got money, and the only reason they got a posse is because they're hoping some of that money falls into their laps. Otherwise, if he didn't have money, he wouldn't have a posse. Yeah. So it's all just like it's all greed, and he's overpaid for what he does, and he can afford to be a scumbag. Simple as that.
It's in fashion.
Yeah, he can afford it. Oh, fuck him. Eventually it'll collapse. Well, maybe not because the far left assholes, they embrace that kind of shit. So he'll be okay.
Hey, Stacey Abrams still thinks she won the election in Georgia. So
yeah. And she's going again for it. And if she gets the algorithm right, and she'll end up winning because they'll fix those machines so that she wins this time.
Yeah. Hey, we lose you, Paul?
No, I'm reading a timeline of the Smollett events.
Okay. Share with us. I was gonna move on to the 2020 episode and then back up one.
I'm trying to find a statement by Greg Gutfeld from the time in question.
Gotcha. Well, meanwhile,
he just wants to get me going. Okay, so let's go.
Okay, we're going to do a little jump here. I'm going to go to 2020 and then 2019, which was kind of an interesting. The 2020, the noose found in Talladega. I almost wish it was found in Daytona. The It's found in Talladega, Alabama. Racetrack garage assigned to and of course you have to say black NASCAR driver. It's in the story. Bubba Wallace. Okay, and then that's a name, a NASCAR driver's name if I've ever heard one.
Bubba. Oh,
Bubba. Yeah, I don't think that's a nickname. I think his parents just said, "Yeah, he a Bubba."
Yeah, Bubba.
FBI investigators determined determined it to be one of several such ropes placed sometime a year before in Talladega door garages as poles. Long before that garage was ever assigned to Wallace, but Wallace continued. This is another one. Continued to maintain it was in fact a noose. Now I'm going to play a soundbite from this guy, and then we're going to get into a little discussion on it because it's a little interesting. So stay tuned. Here it comes.
What would you say to those people who are doubting that this even happened or that it's true?
Yeah, just like Steve Phelps said, it offends me that people would go to those measures. But again, I'm not shocked. People are entitled to their own opinion to make them feel good, whatever help them sleep at night. But it is still an ongoing investigation with the FBI. I can now say I've talked to the FBI. Never thought that would happen. But it's just unfortunate circumstances and in a terrible time that we're in right now. Year 2020 will be one year to for sure forget moving forward. But it's simple-minded people like that, the ones that are afraid of change. They use everything in their power to defend what they stand up for, and instead of trying to listen and understand what's going on. And like I said, it's still an ongoing investigation. We're still trying to figure out whoever did this crazy act to try to pinpoint it on somebody and just go through it all. So it's, I think it was better for me not to see it directly. I don't know how I would have reacted, but it's all in their hands now, the FBI's hands, to go through everything and try to figure it out.
I'm not sure what to say about that, except this privileged person sat there accusatory. I don't have time to hear your side of the story. He didn't even see the so-called noose, the door pull.
Okay, let me just get this straight. Is there a federal law broken if you just hang a noose up? I mean, is the noose itself a federal crime?
No.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure you've been paying attention. We were asleep when they came out with hate speech, and I saw immediately where this was going, and I tried warning people, but nobody listens to me. Not that it would matter. But of course, hate crimes. You've got what do they call that when they amplify your sentence because it's a quote?
I understand it, but what was the actual crime that was committed?
Well, this is going to be the same as burning a cross on somebody's yard or something along that nature. I don't know what the statute is, but trust me, they will find one.
Well,
and if not, then they'll go after you civilly.
Yeah, here's the deal. There was no crime. There was no crime. This was 2020. Young Wallace was also talking about rough 2020. Yeah, that's when the losing fanatic Black Lives Matter burnt down a large portion of this country, causing $2 billion worth of damage, killed several people, and walked away scot-free. And this piece of shit, Bubba Wallace, that drives a NASCAR around a circle, has the nerve to freaking sit there and point the finger at somebody. He didn't even see this stupid thing. And even if he did, if he was a man, he would have just said, that was pretty good. And by the way, what the frig does he know about anybody getting hung or lynched or whatever they want to call it? Because the biggest mass hanging in this country was done against Italian Americans in Louisiana. So when they get reparations, maybe Bubba can get his car back. That's what I think.
Jimmy's pissed if he curses.
It's just, and this is 2020. It infuriates me.
I'm with you, and it was a door pull. So okay, like you said, there was no crime, and apparently Petey never even saw it. So who saw it, and what did they do about it? I mean, what are the details? Who supposedly found this alleged noose that turned out that wasn't even a noose? And did they ever? Apparently, was it an actual noose with
No, it was a
13
door pull.
with 13 wraps? You know.
Oh, hey,
No,
let's
no.
not get technical.
Well, listen, look, I know how to make a noose. Okay, I've read it in a book. There's got to be 13 wraps. It's a certain way it's done. That's a noose. Okay, and it's tied a certain way so that when you fall, the person that you're executing falls, it pulls their head over and snaps their neck.
Okay. Now let me just jump in here quick, Joe, so I can give you a synopsis from the progressive point of view. You've trapped before, right?
Yes.
And you use snare traps, correct?
Yep. Yes.
So let's say you set up a snare trap on a public piece of property where it's legal to trap. You have a license, and a couple of guys are walking down through the woods, maybe fishing or something, or maybe just trespassing. We don't know. But one of them happens to be black, and he sees it. Now he calls the FBI, and they have an investigation about a hate crime because there's a noose that somebody planted on the ground. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It could be any freaking thing you want. Just like that kid in New Jersey that got suspended or expelled because he brought in a piece of bread and he molded it into the shape of a gun.
Piece of bread.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. Oh yeah. So.
I heard of a kid getting suspended because he drew a picture of a gun.
Yeah, that too. But it's that ridiculous. It's that ridiculous that they dispatched the FBI.
Well, we know. Come on, we know how upstanding the FBI is now.
Yeah. Well, if you didn't know, go ahead, Paul.
Just to throw out some more affirmative action, he came up through the Drive-Through Diversity Program, or Drive for Diversity Program.
You mean the Drive-By Diversity Program?
Yeah. Yeah, we've been so propagandized into racism bad that we're willing to stand by and lose the country over it, and that's what we're doing. And it's not just black people. I'm talking about Chinese, Koreans, whatever.
Well, all I know for sure is you can't have a list of 178 hate crimes that were proven to be hoaxes against white people like Joe said, without any repercussions. If that's not a society that's in trouble, I'm not really sure what is.
Yeah, that's a problem because they've been pushing it even further with the Open Society Foundation and bringing in all these Marxist DAs that are, letting, every third black violent criminal out, increasing violence, or no punishment at all,
right?
When they commit crimes. And what happens then is they're and it would happen with anybody, although it doesn't seem to happen with whites for some reason.
Well, I was just going to say, this isn't really a white, black, Chinese, Asian thing. This is a subculture, Soros subculture that has been planning this for years. They happen to find some participants, willing participants in the black community, unfortunately, and this is the way it's going. The white portion of it is they're the ones that are going to jail. They're the January 6th tourists that toured the Capitol that are still in jail with no due process.
Yeah, and let's be clear, this is a minority of even the black population. Same thing with the brown population. They're much more violent than whites as well. These are minorities of the populations, but we can't have these outsized percentages,
Oh no, nor will they ever credit the outliers, if you will. And I say outlier, tongue in cheek. They will never credit somebody from the black community or any other community that's not so-called Caucasian that rises to the top. That has to be that's a traitor. That's a race traitor.
Yeah. What are they got names for them?
Yeah, the Uncle Tom.
Coconuts. Yeah, coconuts.
It's disgusting. It is, if you want to use the negative vernacular or the negative aspect of racism, that is the worst of the worst. When your culture turns on you because you did well, besides it's sophomoric and it's ignorant. But anyway.
And getting back to Obama, and this all got ramped up during Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street was a class thing. It was protests against Wall Street bankers.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
we don't even want to go there probably in this episode, but then whether it was Obama himself, somebody in the administration, or just like-minded individuals infiltrated these groups and started bringing identity politics, white versus black,
Yeah.
Versus red versus
Well, they waited for the time to strike.
Yeah, well, to take their eyes off the true freaking criminals.
Of course.
I mean, as bad as black violence is, Wall Street violence is worse.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say: a man with a briefcase can get more money than a man with a gun anytime.
That's right. Yeah.
So anyway, January 18th, 2019. I kind of saved this one because, again, it's almost like we knew what we were doing tonight. The Nicholas Sandman Nathan Phillips case.
Oh yeah.
It's the ending is kind of cool, but and I remember seeing it and I thought, look at that little sly little kid with the grin. And then I thought, you know what? This is still America. If you want to grin at somebody, you can grin at them, and then you can go as a news media and you can call it something that it wasn't. The hoax was promoted by Native American activist Phillips, who was, by the way, a professional agitator.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
But Sandman and his fellow students at Kentucky's Covington Catholic High School, which, by the way, probably tweaked people right off the bat just because it was Catholic, they were in D.C. for a March for Life. Phillips was there for the Indigenous Peoples March. So I don't know how the two came together. My guess is that the Indigenous Peoples March found out that there was a March for Life and said, no, we're going to break that up. But the two somehow came together at the Lincoln Memorial, which is apropos, I guess. Phillips claimed that the high schoolers, mostly white, mostly, not all, like Sandman, wearing MAGA hats, Make America Great Again hats, those lovely red hats that Trump handed out, swarmed around him in a threatening manner, making him feel uneasy. Now, okay, and I'm commenting as I'm going. Obviously, this was many, many people, crowds of people. I walk down the street with nobody there, and I feel crowded. So I couldn't imagine what this was like. It was getting ugly, and I was thinking, I've got to find myself an exit out of the situation and finish my song at the Lincoln Memorial, Phillips told the Washington Post. I started going that way, and the guy in the hat, who was Sandman, stood in my way, and we were at an impasse. And I'm not going to use an Indian accent because that would be insensitive.
That's all right, because he don't have an Indian accent.
He's about as Indian as that whack job. What's her name?
Warren.
Yeah, Liz Warren. He just blocked my way and he wouldn't allow me to retreat. And of course, this was all on video. And so
I always retreat while I'm going forward.
Yeah, that must be a fake Indian thing. He also claimed that the students chanted "Build that wall." Yeah. And again, maybe they did. But so what? There's no law against that.
We're missing the big story from that day. The real problem crowd that was there were the Black Hebrew Israelites.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about them. You're right.
Right?
You're right.
And these are the guys who were shit-talking these Indians.
They were agitating on the sideline.
Yeah.
That was absent from most of the written and audio stories out there.
That's right. We got to look over here at the white guy. Not these fanatic freaking crazy blacks,
It was kind of funny. And again, to sum it up, like Joe was saying, who's paying for what? Sandman won. He sued the Post, CNN, NBC University or Universal. I'm sorry, it was. And they settled for two undisclosed amounts, and I believe there's at the time of this there was still one pending. I mean, I heard it was in the tens of millions.
Yeah, we'll probably never know, but I hope it was a lot. Not that it seems to have much effect. I mean,
well, no, it's not going to have an effect on anybody other than Sandman, who's actually, I think, running for politics as some sort of an office now, which is
is he?
Yeah, he probably wouldn't be able to do without the money.
I mean, we can ask what kind of effect it had. We can ask Kyle Rittenhouse what he thinks if this straightened people out. You know.
Well, yeah,
getting
there's another
sued.
one who was on film defending himself, actual self
Right.
defense from being killed, and he got a $2 million bond, was it?
Yeah, white
Yeah.
supremacist they said white supremacist
Yeah.
kills 3 black people
Yeah.
or whatever at Black Lives Matter protest.
And they were
Okay.
clearly white.
Yeah, except for the head kick guy, which we didn't find out about, I think, until after the trial. The black guy
Oh, right, yeah.
that kicked him in the head or tried kicking him in the head.
And then the that man that ran over that 17 or 18-year-old boy, murdered him because he was a Republican. He's out on $50,000. He was out before his freaking dinner was cold.
That's such a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's a white guy. Not that it does matter. I'd rather focus on the guy who ran down the white Christmas parade.
No, that was an SUV.
Yeah, okay.
The SUV did that. It's sad. It's sad. I maybe I shouldn't say this and record it, but if that was my son, well, I probably don't have to say any more than that.
Yeah, and here's the thing, we are going to have racial violence. It's at this point, it's just gone too far. People have seen too much, and it's bubbling.
That's the fabrication. Yeah.
All we need is another Floyd, and then Black Lives Matter gets called up again, and people are probably had enough now, and they're just gonna start freaking dropping folks.
I know it's going to get ugly, and I know that the pot is boiling, and I do know that the whole thing was perpetrated and planned from years and years and years ago, and I believe that the planners finally decided how to make this happen. And I and I've said this before plenty of times, and it comes off a little weird, but Charlie Manson said this was going to happen, and I know that sounds weird, and I'm not saying he was some kind of amazing prophet, but he did say. In fact, that's what his plan was. His helter-skelter plan was to artificially cause a race war, and then step in and take over. It's well documented in that the book of the same name, which is it's not so much a sick thing to say as it is a sick commentary on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can see what they're doing now. It to all appearances, they're trying to push some sort of social calamity, whether it be World War III or food prices spiraling out of control, or even food shortages, something like that, and things would kick off quickly enough to where they would have to do some sort of
15% of
dictator-like.
If 15% of our food is imported, then there's no reason to have a food shortage in this country. So
right.
That's all man-made, and
well, how much of our food is exported?
Well,
we spend too much time taking care of other countries instead of taking care of our own country.
Yeah.
And if we don't do that, we just bring them in and take care of them.
Yeah.
But don't.
And that's another thing. All the illegals they're bringing in, so they're pushing for something that's obvious.
Yeah, and if you take a look at what they're pushing for and how they're doing it, it's kind of it's right in your face. If you think about the fact that we can in this country, we can shut everybody out. We can make our own food. We can make our own gas and oil. We can do everything ourselves, right? And we don't need anybody to buy our products to survive.
Right.
Now, places like Japan, their economy, think about most of their economy is slave labor. They're communistic slave labor. So these people over there, they build all kind of crap that we buy that they can't have. They can't have the telephones that we have. They can't have the electronics that we have. These people live in poverty. They're slaves. So China needs the United States to buy their products to survive. We could easily shut them out.
Well,
we can collapse their economy. It is that simple. We don't need their oil. We don't need their gas. We can do everything ourselves.
Well,
but we don't do that.
What do you think would happen if we could no longer get iPhones?
We can make our own.
We'd use Androids.
We can make our own. We don't need China. We can make our own.
Well, yeah, but to spin up a iPhone factory would take
Okay.
What, 5 years?
I agree with that, but here's the point. We control 100%. We can have 100% control. So in other words, China, they bark a big bark, right? But when it really comes down to it, we could squeeze them where they'll be glad to make us phones. They'll be glad to make it. We can be in control.
Funny thing is, we were squeezing them under the Trump administration.
Right, and it worked. And what, our economy wasn't the best it's been in how many years? Everything with people were thriving, money, our 401ks were up, everything was great until Biden absolutely reversed everything Trump did and destroyed our economy and is destroying our country. So we have the capability to do it if we're managed correctly.
We do, but think of the pharma industry. I don't remember the numbers, but the vast majority of everything that we take, whether it's over the counter or prescription, most of it is made in China or
Germany,
Israel, or wherever.
That's fine, but still, because we can control the majority, people will come to us. They will make for us.
It's a power buyer theory. Yeah.
Right. You know what? We don't want to just make for ourselves and shut the world down. We want the world to buy from us. We want to supply the world with stuff, but not at the expense of driving us into the ground.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that we've spent decades driving us into the ground, offshoring everything, and you can't fix that overnight.
Well, I don't really agree with that, because if you look at what Trump did in the 4 years that he had both his hands tied behind his back, what he did in that short amount of time proves that we can do it. Proves it.
All right. Well, I'm not going to argue with you, but I don't see it happening, regardless, setting aside the ridiculous statements that come out of the White House. Saying that he's bringing back manufacturing, whatever.
This White House isn't going to do it. This White House is in bed with China. Are you kidding me?
I think what Paul's saying is,
didn't it just come out that freaking Hunter Biden has a freaking Chinese prostitute working for him or something? I don't know what they call prostitutes.
Sounds about right.
Theoretically, it can be done. Not with this administration.
This administration can't.
Let me just say that this began prior to Nixon, and I hate to say that, but prior to Nixon, we were pretty much self-sustaining, and we were a power buyer. He opened up the door to China, and it was a great thing, because China was one of the big Satans, the big communist Satan. Which it still is, as far as I'm concerned. But so that was the slow boil, the beginning of the slow boil. And to Paul's point, you can't do it overnight. You have to understand the people. The people in this country won't go for it, because the first world luxuries that they have and the first world problems that they have, that they would revolt more than seeing somebody like a potato head running the White House right now. It's
what do you mean?
Weird.
What do you mean? My Baofeng costs $250.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to buy jeans from America. Who's going to pick that cotton?
Well, as a matter of fact, I happen to know some folk who are pretty good at it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in theory, it's the way it should be. And Trump did he did. What do they call that? A working theory. He did. The concept was proven, and he did it through tariffs for the most part. And China was kissing our behinds.
Yeah, because they couldn't afford to lose us as a buyer.
Well, no, and this happens in retail a lot too. Large companies don't have the ability to understand, and mostly because it's the medium to mid-range leadership. They don't have the ability to understand their buying power. Therefore, they don't use their buying power. And then CEOs, for the most part, on these big corporations, they really don't care. They're making a $19-20 million bonus. They make their shareholders some money. Everybody's happy, but they don't come down to the small man level and realize that, wait a minute, we're power buyers. We can freaking push anybody anywhere we want. And that's what America's supposed to be, not the pushy part, because we're the most charitable country there ever was. And when we're successful, the world is successful because we believe in a rising tide brings all ships up. But the people in office now, the mutt in office now, they believe in nihilism and destruction. That's what they believe in.
And therein lies the problem. The people in power now. We need to get them. We need to get them out of power.
Before we continue on, I would just like to retract something about the cotton picking.
I didn't know you said something about that.
If there is one piece of advice that I can give the world, it's pick your own damn cotton.
Yeah. I don't know where I don't know why that was a lost. I don't want to say talent, but it was certainly a lost occupation in this country. And I mean, I know why, and it's unjust. But anyway, a lot of people lost a lot of, and we can go into the whole textile thing, going back to the marijuana and the hemp too, but that has tied into it. But that's a rabbit hole we ain't going to go down this week.
All right.
Yeah. So what other hoaxes? Well, I don't know if you want to call it it's not a black on white hoax.
It doesn't have to be. It absolutely doesn't have to be. There was plenty of other ethnic groups that were participating in this, and that kills me because that's the only way you can do it. You can't have some white guy. I mean, I hate talking about this stuff. I really do. But you don't have some white guy hoaxing another white guy. It just obviously the pieces don't fit. So
how does the Russia hoax fit into this?
Yeah, well, I guess that was whites against whites.
That's the one I was going to bring up was the well, not the Russia hoax, but the Fine People hoax.
Well, bring it up and we'll close out with that.
What about the San Diego Library News hoax?
The what?
The San Diego Library News hoax. Student apologizes for the noose in San Diego. A minority student put a noose in the library, but it turned out to be a black man with a noose in the library and got caught.
He must have not done his homework. I mean, this whole noose thing is driving me crazy.
There's a lot of nooses. If you look them up, they're crazy. University of Delaware, noose found hanging on the campus. That was debunked. What about how about there was one? How about there was like a basketball? Which one was it? She was playing the game and. Oh no, volleyball. It was the volleyball team, and she was saying that the people in the audience were calling her.
That was just recently too.
Yeah, that was Brigham Young or something.
Yeah, that's right. The Mormon college. Yeah.
It turned out to be completely false.
Right, and like Jimmy says, the smear happens, and the apology is unheard.
Yeah.
Right.
So its intended effect stands.
Yeah, it did the news cycles, and it's malicious. It's very, very malicious, and there's not enough consequence to this stuff because it hurts people. It ruins people's lives, and it's not an easy topic to talk about, but it's so prevalent that, like Joe just read off a couple. I mean, there's hundreds and
hundreds of them. Yeah, you could go on. You could spend days on it. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah. I just thought it was something that needed to be brought to light to some degree. So that's what we did. What do you say, guys?
Well, we're about 50 minutes in. I guess that's as long as we can expect people to stay awake.
And then some. Yeah. I was
all right.
gentle with the soundboard tonight, too. So, all right. from Central Florida in the middle of Hurricane Ian or however they want to pronounce it. I call it Hurricane Peter. I'm signing off. Later, guys.
Yeah, go home and get your shine box.
That's right.
Have a good night and stay safe, Jim.
Thanks. Take care.
Good night.